Welcome to the Profit with Purpose show. I'm your host, Anna Goldstein, NYU certified coach, entrepreneur, and author. This is an informative and uplifting podcast where I dive deep into lives of entrepreneurs and change makers who are making money through living their life's purpose. The Profit with Purpose podcast is produced every week on Thursdays. Please subscribe to be the first to get updates about new episodes. All links and show notes are found at annagoldstein.com/podcast. Now let's get started. Listen up with an open heart and mind. Hello, and welcome to episode number 50 of the Profit with Purpose podcast, which means I have done almost a full year of podcasting. When I started podcasting, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I had the intention to offer more value to listeners and be able to provide people with more information and share tips and tools that I've learned along the way and people that I have met that are experts in their field to share their wisdom and knowledge with you. And I had very little idea about what it actually took to have a podcast. And for the first time in my business, I have been consistently podcasting for 1 year. This is the thing that I've been the most consistent with. And the reason why I have been consistent is for one main reason, and it's accountability. Because I mention that I will be releasing a podcast once a week every Thursday, I show up. I show up every Thursday with a new podcast, and I have been consistent for 1 year. I think I missed one episode when I was on vacation, but it is the thing that I have been the most consistent with in my business, and I have had my business for 8 years. That public accountability is powerful. Accountability breeds results. So I just wanted to share that with you, that if you're feeling like you haven't been consistent with something, then maybe it's time to be public about what you're going to be consistent with. Make an announcement, tell your friends, tell your family, post it on Facebook, make that public accountability because it forces you to show up. It's amazing how accountability helps breed results. So I just wanted to share that with you. Don't feel bad about yourself if you haven't been consistent up until this point. It took me several years to get to this point. Not everybody is like that. Some people can be more consistent right out of the get-go, but consistency is really, really important to breeding results. And I have been consistent in other areas. I just haven't showed up weekly like I have been doing with this. So I just wanted to start with that. And what I really want to talk about in today's episode is I actually want to talk about creating space for sadness. Now, that might sound contradictory to living a happy life, but it's actually really important. A lot of the times we want to reject sadness or pretend that it doesn't exist, which happens to, if we reject it and we pretend that it doesn't exist, it doesn't actually go away. We're actually suppressing our feelings. And when we suppress something, it comes out in funky ways and haunts us in other ways. So it's not realistic for you to be happy every single day. Now, maybe some monks are who have dedicated their life to improving their mind and practice being happy all the time, but it's not really realistic for us to be happy and in a good mood every single day. The sun doesn't shine every single day. Sometimes it's cloudy, sometimes it's rainy. So there's a tendency, especially when we're working towards personal development, becoming a happier person, there's a tendency to judge our sadness. What that means is basically when we feel sad to then beat ourselves up for feeling sad or feeling down, which isn't really helpful. It only adds another layer to sadness. And what is helpful is to inquire and to be curious about what triggered you and to have it be an opportunity for you to become more aware around what maybe is a little bit underneath the layers of the surface that are causing you to feel sad. So just by simply asking yourself some questions can help you discover the answers. You might not get an answer right away. That's another thing that I want to talk about. I'll save that for a little bit later in this conversation. with being okay with not having the answers and moving forward anyways. We'll talk about that in a moment. It's really important to just allow yourself to be sad sometimes without making yourself feel bad about it. Usually, pain is an indicator. It's an acronym, which is pay attention inward now. And there's a lot of really positive qualities to it, because when we feel pain, it actually motivates us to change. We're more likely to take action to avoid pain than to seek pleasure. So pain can be a very powerful motivator. So all that is to go to say, if you are experiencing sadness, there is nothing wrong with you. There's a tendency to label ourselves as something must be wrong, or give it some type of meaning like this is never going to work out for me, that things are happening to me, I'll never figure it out, or I'll always be stuck. You want to be more mindful of your language using always and never. And it's something that I've had to be more mindful of myself. When I used to get upset, it used to be catastrophic. I used to say things to myself like, I'll never be successful. And it was really, really affecting me. So paying attention to those two words in those moments where you're feeling sad, or what are the stories that you're telling yourself, can help you raise your awareness around areas that need to be tended to. Okay. So it appears as though the problem is outside, but we want to use it as an opportunity to become more self-aware. The more that you know yourself, the easier your life becomes. Now, when I feel sadness, I watch it almost as if I'm watching the feeling happening. I don't try to change it. I sit through it. Sometimes I take a nap. I'm able to because I have my own business. If you're not able to, sometimes you can go for a walk, drink a cup of tea, do something to calm yourself when you're feeling agitated. Pain and sadness is not bad. Make some room for it. Allow yourself to feel whatever you are feeling without putting pressure on yourself to change it or to be different in that moment. Acceptance is the first step to change. So it's really important to create some space, make some room, be realistic here. You're going to have bad days, you're going to get sad, and things are going to trigger you. Create some space, and in that space, allow yourself the opportunity to explore. Okay, so switching gears a little bit here is when you want to start something new in your life, don't expect yourself to be perfect. A mentor very early on in my career told me, you don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going. And it's been so helpful to me, and I also share this with a lot of the people that I work with. There is a tendency to be afraid to mess things up, and a lot of that comes from our fear of what other people will think. How will it look from the outside? And it holds us back in a really big way. Wanting to get things perfect usually stops us right in our tracks, and we don't do anything. So it's really important to allow yourself to get messy, to make mistakes, because in those mistakes, you'll learn. If you haven't done something before and you're doing something new for the first time, don't expect yourself to be perfect. Here's the thing. Done is better than perfect. So give yourself permission to not have it all figured out and move forward anyways. So what's one thing that you've been putting off because you've been waiting to be perfect and you've been afraid about what other people will think, that you have been putting on hold, that you want to take action today? What's one small step that you can take towards something that you want in your heart?